Get ready for success. Leadership Strategies for Women is a show dedicated to providing practical and valuable strategies for emerging women leaders of today. It's your time to get inspired, motivated, and challenged to achieve your vision for success. And now, here's leadership speaker and coach, Ellie Nieves.
Hello, this is the Leadership Strategies for Women podcast, and I'm your host, Ellie Nieves. I'm the founder and president of Leadership Strategies for Women, where I develop seminars and webinars to help high-achieving women show up, speak up, and step up in their careers. To learn more, please visit my website at leadershipstrategiesforwomen.com, or you can follow the Leadership Strategies for Women page on Facebook. Our guest is Mridu Parikh. Mridu is a keynote speaker, productivity mentor, and best-selling author of Accomplish It, 7 Simple Actions to Get the Right Things Done and Achieve Your Goals. She helps professionals around the world with demanding careers and overachieving mindsets to beat procrastination, reach goals, and squash overwhelm. Mridu's strategies on streamlining tasks and mastering habits have been featured in the Huffington Post, U.S. News and World Report, Real Simple, and many other media outlets. Mridu, welcome to the Leadership Strategies for Women podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Ellie. I'm so excited.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. First off, I'm a mom of two tween boys, which is a handful right there. I am, as you mentioned, I'm a productivity coach. I help ambitious women go from overwhelmed and overloaded to in control and confident, so they're more productive at work and they're more present at home. So I started my entrepreneurial career actually as a home organizer, which people always find really interesting, and it tends to really work its way into my work all the time, just organizing in general and streamlining. And prior to that, I spent 10 years in corporate. So half of my career was in corporate and half as an entrepreneur. So I've been really lucky to sort of see both ends of that and, how that really works.
So what's the correlation between productivity and leadership development for women?
So I believe that when you're more productive, you're in control, right? You're in control of your time, you're in control of your attention and your results. And when you have that type of control, it oozes leadership. It's like you're so confident, you know your priorities, you put up the boundaries, and these are just all qualities of leaders. So I feel like the more productive you can be, the more in control that you are of your attention, your focus, and your success, the more that internally, you feel really confident, and externally, how people perceive you is always as a true leader.
So many women leaders are overwhelmed by all the tasks that they have. They have to manage their work-life balance. They've got work responsibilities, their personal lives. What are your top 3 practices for women leaders who want to find balance in their lives while also boosting their productivity?
So I love to use a framework because I think they're easy to remember. And the one I use is called ACT. And I believe that if you want different results, like if you want to have more of that balance, if you want to feel more in control, you've got to act a little differently. So that's the acronym. And the A is to avoid distractions. So first things first, we've got to get really clear on what it is you're doing at that moment. Are you completely present on what you're doing at work? What is that specific task on that project? Or is it giving your full attention to a relationship, someone at home, or personal development or personal growth? What is that? So avoiding those distractions and getting laser focused is absolutely going to help you just be present and, just be most successful at the task at hand. And then and if you want, I can follow up and give you a whole slew of different strategies, but I think maybe we'll get into that in terms of real hacks we can use. The second thing, the C in the framework, is to commit to your priorities. So be really, really, really clear. What is most important in my life right now? I feel like so many busy women, you were just saying, how we all have so many demands and distractions. I feel like sometimes we just go through the day, just going through the motions. We're not even necessarily connected anymore to the bigger why. Why is this so important? What will light me up? What will make me feel successful and fulfilled and rewarded? So it's really important that we start back to the basics, like what are my priorities, and then commit to those. So professionally and personally. But personally, it may be a health goal. It may be fostering a relationship in your home. It might be nurturing, a skill. And professionally, maybe it's developing a skill or getting a promotion or getting visibility, getting exposure. So when you get really clear to that, then you can commit to those. And then finally, the T in the ACT framework is to time block. So time block your priorities actually on your calendar. Because again, we get so caught up in the everyday. We're like just flying by the seat of our pants. We look up at 6 o'clock, we're like, where did the day go? So I really believe if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't happen. So if those personal priorities are your exercise or connection time, get those on your calendar so you're actually doing it. And professionally, if it is that visibility or exposure or whatever that goal is, get that time on your calendar to get that work done.
I so believe in what you're saying. One of the things that I always say is that true commitment shows up in two places. It shows up in your wallet and it shows up on your calendar. Right?
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
So you're a productivity coach, so you must have your own personal productivity hacks. What are some of the productivity hacks that you use every day to manage your own personal life and your own career?
Okay, so a couple of these, I'm sure you and your audience have heard of, but I find that we rarely are committing to them and using them consistently. So one is a Pomodoro technique, and I know that you are a productivity fan yourself, so I'm sure you know about this. But if anyone who doesn't know it, you can Google it. But essentially, it's based on brain and science research that shows your best performance, your best optimal brain performance is based on 25-minute increments of fully focused, intentional, deliberate time. So the good news is all that means is that you just have to focus on one task for 25 minutes and that's all. That's it. In fact, the research shows that you have to take a break after that for at least 5 minutes to sort of rejigger your mind and do something else. So that's one of my best hacks. Anytime I'm procrastinating doing something, I am just I feel scattered and overwhelmed. I'm like, okay, it's just 25 minutes. I got to focus on it and get it done. So that's a big one. Another one that everybody knows about, but people don't seem to use enough is just putting the do not disturb, just going and swiping that on your phone. And again, if you're familiar with it or not, but all it really does, it does not allow interruptions to come into you. So you're not going to get the calls and the texts and the beeps and the rings, notifications. However, you have full access to the interwebs and all your apps and everything on your phone. And if this makes you really nervous, if you're like, okay, during my 25-minute Pomodoro, I want to put on my do not disturb, but I'm still freaking out that someone's trying to get in touch with me. There's even an option that says allow calls from, so you could get a notification or a call or a text from your boss or from your special client or from your mom or, whoever it is. So there's no excuse for us not to be using that. So those are two of my favorite in terms of, again, just helping you to avoid those distractions, really commit to those priorities and getting that time on your calendar to just, get the important stuff done.
That's great. So you're a successful woman. And one thing that I've learned from working with many successful women and even in my own journey is that success doesn't come without challenges. What are some challenges that you face as you are striving to attain your own personal career goals?
I'd say one, and this is something that's taken me a long time to see that I was doing this. And now that I'm aware of it, I feel like I've done this a few times in my career. So I'm trying to be very, very much on top of this. But essentially, it's not listening to my gut, not really just listening to that inner voice that guides you. I almost feel like every maybe business decision that I've perhaps regretted or I just wish I took a different turn, and also personal decisions, is because something inside of me was saying, this doesn't feel right. There's something better waiting. Just hold off, don't listen to them. Don't do that. And I did it anyway, because there was other things, right? It's like the carrot dangling. So maybe it was the money, maybe it was a relationship, maybe it was, just something on the other end. And I've always regretted that decision. So this is something I've really worked hard now to tap into and just double, triple, quadruple check with myself. Does this really feel right? So that's one. And then another I'd say is, and I think that the second one I'm going to say is probably so prevalent, I think especially among high achieving women and ambitious, driven professional women, is this need to be perfect, or just like waiting till things are too perfect. They have to be perfect until they can either be released or expressed, or let out in the world, or pivoted, or, whatever that change or has to come out in some way. It's sort of just waiting a little bit too long. And then once it actually, I would make that change or make that pivot or, put that thing out, you realize, you know what, it would have been just fine a month ago or 6 months ago when I had that idea, or when it wasn't perfect, or, so I see both of those are where I have personally tapped into just so much professionally and personally now.
That's wonderful. So my next question is a related question.
Mm-hmm.
What are some leadership strategies that have helped you to get ahead in your career?
That's a good question. So I think one is probably very much related to that in terms of listening to your gut. And one, I'd say just sort of owning my voice, like being really confident in expressing myself, even if it was sometimes contrarian to opinion, even if it was like the dumb question, which it always ends up that it never is. Even if it's just like, you're thinking outside the box or doing something that, it's that ability just to show up confidently, own your voice, own your thoughts, and just express it. And it's amazing what happens from there. So that, I think, has truly helped me in my journey. So many great either decisions or feedback or collaborations or partnerships have spurred out of that. And another one I'd say is developing frameworks. So as you noticed just earlier, I said the ACT. So developing frameworks around ways to present ideas and to kind of have them structured. So I have found that's really impacted my leadership, because it just is easier for people to grasp a concept. It's something that they can walk away with. So it makes a really clear takeaway. So again, it kind of just adds to your leadership. It really shows like your thought, like you really put some thought into it. You've created something that's original. So I have found that I've done this now across everything, like either in my business or the way I present, whether I'm speaking in public, on a stage, and training, so on an interview like this, that if I can create frameworks, it really has up-leveled the way that I'm perceived.
So tell us what that looks like. How does that show up, a framework?
Sure. So the ACT was like an example, right? So it's just like, okay, so just maybe answering the question of I think it was 3 ways to be a leader. It's sort of putting that in that framework. Or if I'm going to present, let's say, a training to a corporation on productivity, I take them through my productivity wheelhouse. So it's called the Power Productivity Wheelhouse. And there's 6 spokes in the wheel, and we take them through a framework. And so it just really helps, I think, for people to digest your information, to really understand what they're going to receive, to help them break it down. Then also with the framework, we can sometimes take that and break it up. And I'll say, you know what, we only have maybe 2 hours for this training instead of 2 days. Why don't we take, the part of the piece 2 and piece 4 of the 6 pieces of the framework and really focus on those. So it just allows a lot of flexibility, structure, and adaptability, like as you're working with clients.
Yeah, the reason I asked you to unpack that is because I think, as you mentioned, it is a powerful leadership strategy to put in place, even when you're just trying to sell an idea at a meeting or before a leadership team. When you create a framework around it, instead of just presenting it without some conceptual framework around it, it could be really powerful when you can package it in that way. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I just want to add, I think it shows like a level of thought leadership. It really stands, and it also stands you out, like makes you stand out compared to anybody else who might, a lot of us are saying some of the same things that other people are, but it's the way that we package it that's really going to make you, right? Like position yourself as a leader, as a trailblazer, as innovative and creative. So if you can sort of package it in that framework or structure, it's going to just make you stand apart.
That's great. That's great. So how do you manage to balance both your career and your personal life?
So I'd say the number one thing, and this is, I think, not what everyone always expects when I get asked this question, but it's really my ability to plan. Like planning ahead is hands down the number one way that I can really, reach those goals, focus on the things that matter most. I mentioned earlier, I think I did, that if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen, right? So that ability to just think forward, whether it's a quarter out, a month out, a week out, a day out, what does that look like in terms of what I'm doing for my business, for my clients, for my colleagues, for my family, for my kids, and then taking that planning and again, back to time blocking and really committing to that time to make that happen. For me, that's how I can really set aside time. Otherwise, we all know we can go like 24/7 sometimes at work, or just the opposite. You're like, I just want to sit and be a slug and watch Netflix all day, and the time isn't feeling really great that way either. So I don't really believe in balance. I think it's just more of an integration, but focusing on the high quality time on whatever it is that you're working on. And I can do that best through planning.
Great perspective. So what are some of your personal goals and your aspirations?
So one thing that I've been trying for my 2020 goal is to do one courageous act every day. And so I've missed a couple days. I will be honest. I haven't gone, but I'm going to be very close to like 350 days, I think, of the 365. And it can be something as simple as, going up to someone that I typically wouldn't in a store even, like somewhere and be like, I really like what you're wearing today. Or, it really could be just something personally that it just kind of gets me a little bit out of my comfort zone. Two, I'm going to go, ask for this multi-million-dollar proposal. I'm going to go send that out. I mean, it could be, it just totally, the spectrum is from one end to the other, but it's just doing something. And for me, the way I'm defining fear or something courageous is just something out of my comfort zone. Sometimes it's even like, and this is a small thing, but it's big. I was trying like intermittent fasting. And that was courageous to me, like to just not eat something till 11 a.m. Like that actually took me out of my comfort zone. It was really hard for me not to do that. So that would be my thing for the day. Or again, like reaching out to you, Ellie, when I reached out to you and like, I'd love to partner and collaborate with you. Like that took me out of my comfort zone and some courage. So that has been a personal goal. And I've been really excited about it because like any habit, the more you do it, the easier it gets, right? And so now I'm almost struggling. We're about halfway through the year of finding something that's really scaring me or challenging me, which is fun because I'm like, oh wait, I'm clearly having less and less fear around things. So, I recommend that everybody try that on for size. And one other thing that I'm doing is, and I think by virtue of doing that, of course, just trying to be a great role model for my kids, by always sort of challenging myself. So this year I started a podcast like you. Last year I wrote a book. Next year I have some kind of more like physical challenge for myself. So I try to do like one really big challenge, like kind of a more annual level. And that I'd say is somewhat motivated or a lot motivated just by my children. Just to be able to share that with them and say, here's something I'm doing. What are you doing? So that's been really helpful.
That's wonderful. So what's next for you?
Wow. So I'm going to keep going on my courageous out of my comfort zone tasks every day. But in terms of just, sort of business wise, I'm running my Life in Control group coaching program in September, which I'm really excited about. This is our 4th round, and it's been really fabulous getting a bunch of like-minded, ambitious, driven women together to help them stop feeling so overwhelmed and feel much more in control of their time and energy and results. So that's been great. As you and I were talking briefly before we got on this, we were mentioning how a lot of events are gone online now. So I speak a lot at events, and in the beginning of the pandemic, some of them were going offline or just were being canceled or postponed. And now a lot of them have come back. But what that really means to me and why it's exciting is that the benefit of that is that I actually get to speak to a lot more people. So, it's like not only the people in the room, but they are broadcasting it maybe to 12 different offices or nationally or globally. So that's really exciting too.
Mridu, thank you so much for taking the time to provide our listeners with tips and strategies that will help them to be more productive as they forge their leadership path. And before we let you go, Mridu, can you please share with us a little bit about your book?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. It's called Accomplish It: 7 Simple Actions to Get the Right Things Done and Achieve Your Goals. And it's about creating the freedom and space for the life that you're meant to live. It's a very easy to read, entertaining journey of 7 simple actions. So guess what? I already shared the ACT with you. So if you're interested in learning the IONS, those are simple strategies that are going to help you stop feeling scattered and overwhelmed. It will help you to get and stay motivated and really feel accomplished every single day.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Mridu. You've been a wonderful guest. And
Thank
to all of
you.
our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, God bless.